Hello, YouTube. How are you doing? My name is Carl, obviously, and I was gonna get a little away from sports for a little bit, talk about movies. First off, I want to say continue to pray for those affected by Hurricane Florence. Excuse me, in the Carolinas. A devastating storm. And then it was a Category 1 or 2. It's still a hurricane. Being here, living in Florida, I have been through five of those. It's nothing to be proud of. It's still a pretty bad storm to go through. So let's continue to pray for those affected by Hurricane Florence in South Carolina. So um, this format will be kind of different. I mean, I'm going to talk about my five favorite movies of all time and then make two honorable mentions. And not to say that the movies I don't mention aren't great. It's just these are the top five movies that my criteria is I watched when I was a kid and then I can watch today and I still think it's an enjoyable movie to watch. So, with that being said, here they are. Number five, The Waterboy, which came out in 1998. It's an Adam Sandler film. It's about a guy who's a little slow, mentally challenged guy, 31 years old, still living with mom, and he's tired of being made fun of. He goes to apply for this team as a water boy, and he goes to the coach, who's played by Henry Winkler. His mom's played in. He coaches Henry Winkler and goes. Henry Winkler comes up to him and says, "You need to fight back for yourself. They're going to ride you all season." Finally, he takes out the quarterback, and then they go to tremendous hit, boom, knocks out the quarterback, and then which is played by a good friend of Adam Sandler's, Peter Dante, which Adam Sandler does a lot of, bringing a lot of good friends of his that he grew up with into films that he makes, which is awesome. He gives them a paycheck. But Henry Winkler wants to bring him on as a football player, and he has to talk to his mom, Kathy Bates. It's an amazing film. I know a lot of people have seen it, but it's just one of those films that I love sports, but I also like some Adam Sandler movies. So it's a great film, and I can still watch it to this day. And back then, it's still funny now than it was back in 1998. Number four, Jurassic Park, which came out in 1993. I just recently watched this film just to kind of see, hey, do I still like it or not? It still moves me. It's a great film. It's way ahead of its time. The CGI and it's really not that bad compared to some movies today. And there's two scenes in the movie that make me cringe. And I'll say this about films: if it gets an emotion out of me, I got a strong sense of humor. It makes me laugh. Jurassic Park doesn't make me laugh, but it makes me an action-packed film. It's something that you have never seen really before with dinosaurs, and it gives you that ooh feeling. There's two scenes in this movie that do that. It's the beginning of the film when they put the Velociraptor into the cage and he tries to get out. He takes out one of the workers that are trying to tranquilize it. It makes me shiver a little bit. And then there's another scene where Wayne Knight plays this person that's trying to sell these embryos to the mainland, and he gets caught up in taking a wrong turn. It was really rainy out on the island. A hurricane's about to come through. Tropical storm's about to come through, and then he comes around this dinosaur that does the fangs and spits the venom and poison onto him, and it's like, ugh, like it still gives me creeps to say. I'm a 30-year-old man. I've seen this movie hundreds of times, and it still gives me the creeps. And I think the best acting job that Sam Neill ever did is in this movie. He plays the part perfect to me, and Jeff Goldblum. I'm not a big fan of Jeff Goldblum, but he kind of makes he does a great part in this movie as well. So Jurassic Park comes in at number four. Number three, another Adam Sandler film. A lot of people don't think this was a great film that came out back in 1996. It is Bulletproof. Now, this was a movie that him and Damon Wayans thought up as an idea, pitched it to Hollywood. They got together and did it. Damon Wayans you find out early in the movie that he is an undercover cop. Adam Sandler is kind of this drug lackey who gets involved with James Caan, who is a drug lord in the West. He's got a dealership front, but he's got his hands in government pockets, lawyers, judges, agents. He's got everything going for him. So, it's a really great movie. It's funny. It's action. Damon Wayans kind of brings the comedy part of it. Or actually, Adam Sandler kind of brings the comedy part of it. Damon Wayans brings the action. It just comes together. It's a really good movie. When it came out as a kid, I was like, this is a really cool movie, and then I watch it again, and it's still funny. So, and there's kind of like a twist at the end. If you kind of see it coming, they drop hints on what's going to happen, but it's a really good film. Coming in at number two is Forrest Gump, which this came out in 1994. Obviously, a lot of people know as Tom Hanks plays this person that's a kind of a uneducated man. He's sitting there on the bench and he's starting to tell stories of his life, how he's been chasing this girl that he grew up with in Alabama. Comes across playing football for the University of Alabama, Bear Bryant. He goes to meet the president a few times, all in pursuit of trying to chase this girl Jenny that he's badly in love with. It's kind of like a love story. Tom Hanks plays a great part. Got an Oscar for this movie. It's a movie that, whenever it's on TV or even if it's on Netflix or wherever, Hulu, I always watch it. It's like I don't care how long it is. It's just a great movie to watch, and anybody can watch it. Unfortunately, at the end, we all know what happened. People that saw it know what happens, but it's a great film. Great directing, acting is great. Gary Sinise plays Lieutenant Dan. First, you kind of think that Lieutenant Dan doesn't like Forrest for saving him in the war because he was in Vietnam, but then later kind of is like, you know what, I never thanked you. You're a great man, and kind of comes to his senses a lot. And then they become great friends, and he actually goes to the wedding, and it's a great story. And actually, this kind of spawned on for Gary Sinise and Tom Hanks to do Apollo 13 movie. So it's a really great movie. Two honorable mentions I'll bring up, and I'm sorry if I'm referring to notes, but it's a movie that came out back in 2013 called The Great Gatsby. It's got, now I'm not saying these are not good enough movies to make my list. I'm just saying these are great movies in general. I could go on for hours about how many movies I like. I just cut it down to 7, 5 for the top 5 and 2 honorable mentions. Great Gatsby stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire. The movie kind of focuses around Tobey Maguire's point of view. Great Gatsby is played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who is this rich man that lives in this mansion next to Tobey Maguire, has at all these parties. Come to find out that he is in love with Tobey Maguire's cousin. He's having all these parties to see if she shows up, and it's a big love story and everything. I think it's just a great film because it was set in a time back in the early 30s, late 30s, early 40s. And this, for me, was a good movie for both Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio, for me, had to get out of that good boy image from the Titanic. Tobey Maguire kind of got, I think in my mind, got typecast as Spider-Man. This is just a great dramatic film, and I actually read the book in college when I was going to college, and then watched the movie at the same time. So it just gave me a new perspective on how the movie, on how to appreciate the film a little bit more. It leads to a death at the end, and I'm not going to give it away, but this movie came out, the remake came out in 2013, and I think the original version came out in 1974. I haven't seen the 1974 version. I do want to, but it's just an overall great story. And then the next movie is I Love You Man, which came out back in 2009, stars Paul Rudd and Jason Segel. Now, this is a goofy comedy, and Paul Rudd is proposing to his girlfriend, but he doesn't have a best man, and her wife's like, well, it doesn't matter. He's like, well, you have this big wedding party, I have nobody. I need to find a best man or a best friend, and he doesn't really have a lot of guy friends, so he doesn't have any guy friends, so he does this Craigslist thing where he tries to find people, comes across Jason Segel, and then along the way he creates kind of like a groomsman and everything like that, and Jason Segel just really appreciates Paul Rudd as a person and tries to be his friend and everything. It's a really cute movie, and I think it's very funny how they interact with one another character-wise. And I think a lot of, if you see them in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, they had good chemistry, so I could see why they would want to make a movie based on that. And then finally, number 1 is Gran Torino. This is my all-time favorite movie. I love Clint Eastwood. I liked him in Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the Dirty Harry movies, Fistful of Dollars, for a few dollars more. The westerns and everything go on and on. But this is the only movie And I don't want to give anything away, but this is the only movie that I've ever seen with Clint Eastwood where you don't see in any other film. And I'll just drop a hint on that, and if you've ever seen it, you know what I'm talking about. He plays a crusty old man who's set in the 50s, and he's all this, like, everything's American, and, you know, white man, you're not going to change my mind. He has a bunch of Hmong people living amongst him. Those are the Vietnamese that helped the American side in the Vietnam War. And he learns to kind of deal with things as if things evolve. The next door neighbor, Tao, tries to steal his Gran Torino to repay the debt. They say he has to work for Clint Eastwood's character. And it just kind of, they evolve a friendship. And then what his initiation was, he was supposed to be in this gang, Hmong gang. His initiation was to steal the Gran Torino. So that leads to, okay, you didn't finish your initiation. And then now they want him to be in the gang, and they're trying to shake it, and then this leads to an all-out, basically, war at the end of the movie. What I like about it so much is it introduces new characters, a new perspective on different prejudices and stereotypes in America, not only back when this movie came out back in 2008, but it's still present today. And Clint Eastwood just shows you a different lightscape on how Mexicans, blacks, Asians, whites, and everybody is treated, and we should all be created as one. He does a great job in the movie of directing. In any of his films, he actually sings the song at the end, which is you kind of are like, really, but then at the same time, it makes you appreciate the production that much more. So those are my top 5 movies of all time. Is The Waterboy, Jurassic Park, Bulletproof, Forrest Gump, and Gran Torino. As you know, none of the movies that have been recently made are not on this list because I base it off of movies that I've seen when I was younger to what they are now. And there was a lot of movies that I thought could have made it, but aside from sports, I will be doing a side video on other topics once a month. Of course, during the sports part of the broadcast, the video, there will be, other mentions of politics and stuff like that. We're going to try to incorporate a lot of different things into the show. I kind of wanted to kind of do this as a branch out to kind of reach to a new audience or people that want to see that kind of it. So, what I am looking forward to later in these productions is probably doing a holiday list of my top 5 favorite holiday films, because you can't really just narrow down 5 movies. You can go scary movies, comedies, action, drama. There's different genres. I'm not going to do all of them, but I will do a holiday one once Christmas time comes around. I got a pretty good idea what the list is, and they're not all going to be Christmas. There's going to be holiday films. It could be Thanksgiving, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, for Halloween, Christmas. All these holidays. I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but thank you. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment if you want. If there's anything you disagree with or agree with, it doesn't matter. As long as you're watching, that's cool with me. And continue to live life to its fullest. And God bless everybody. You all have a fantastic day.